rich friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the bucket method of managing your savings. I recently discovered this method and I applied it into my life, and I already am so much more organized and effective with my savings. And that's why in today's video, I'm going to be talking you through what the bucket method of managing your savings is, how to create it, and how to manage multiple saving goals. The bucket method of managing your savings is all about organizing your savings into categories, or what we like to call buckets. Most people just get online and they hear advice about, start saving, save 20% of your income, and that is good advice. So they take the advice and they just start saving 20% of their income lumped up into one place. They have one high yield savings account, and they're just putting all their savings into that account. Now, there's nothing wrong with that on the surface, right? That's a very simple and easy way to just get started with saving. But there's a major flaw with that way of saving your money. The first flaw is that it gives you an inflated idea of what your true savings are. Many times, as human beings, you have multiple goals. One goal could be starting an emergency fund. Another goal could be, funding your travel. Another goal could be saving up for a professional exam that you plan to do, and then you're lumping everything into your savings. So you can see a savings number. Let's say you have 20k in savings, and you have that false security that, oh, I have 20k in savings. But eventually, when it's time to make those major expenses, you dip into your savings, which means that your savings was actually not 20,000 to begin with. The true savings number was actually something smaller. So lumping everything all the money you want to save into one place gives you that false sense of security. Another problem with just putting all your savings into one place as well is this is a surefire way to end up with unnecessary credit card debt, or to end up with just a destabilized spending system. And this was the error that I always made, right? I consistently saved a portion of my income every month last year, and I put it into one high yield savings account. And because I wanted that savings to be my true savings, I did my best to not dip into that savings whenever I needed to make an expense. What that looked like was, on a month-to-month basis, whenever I needed to make a major expense, I will end up putting all the, everything, the entire expense into that 1 month, right? And what that will translate to is that some months I will go over budget. And if you go over budget and you don't have any other source of income, what that translates to is you have, maybe you put money on your credit card that you're not able to pay until the next month. Or you shortchange yourself on every other thing that you could have done that month. And that was what really happened for me last year. Was my spending was undulating every month, and I had to cut in some places, cut in other places. I had commitment that I had probably made months before that I had to withdraw, or I was unable to do them because I had this major expense that just came my way and I had to do that. This is also one downside of just lumping your savings, is it doesn't give you flexibility. It doesn't give you room to prepare for the major expenses that you are inevitably going to have to spend money on, throughout the month. And that's why this video is very important in the beginning of the year. I want you to go into 2025 with a solid saving strategy, and that is what this bucket method of managing your savings is. Bucket system is basically having different buckets, different categories for different savings, right? So how do you create your bucket system of managing your money? The very first step is to identify what your financial goals are. And I spoke about this in detail in my video about creating a financial plan. I'll link that up here if you want to watch that in more detail. But for the context of this video, everybody in the beginning of every year has some form of financial goals that they want to accomplish. And many people don't take the time to actually sit down and write down, these are my 5 financial goals, right? And your financial goals could include things like, build up your emergency fund. It could include things like start saving. And I have another video on the channel where I spoke about my own financial goals. If you need detailed examples of what financial goals could look like. But people also within the year typically have spending goals. Maybe you want to travel, maybe you want to take an exam, maybe you are planning for a major life upgrade like buying a house, buying a car, getting married. Most people don't see those things as financial goals. You just see them as personal goals, maybe career goals or relationship goals or spiritual goals or fun goals. But all of our goals, no matter what category they fall in, have some form of financial, undertone requirements to them, because that's the way money is. Money is a factor that spans across every category of life. So whether we're talking about your career, your health, your relationships, fun, your spiritual life, there is some form of, financial goal attached to it. Getting your money right, getting your financial goals right, getting your saving strategy right is so unbelievably important to you achieving success in every other area of your life in 2025. So the first step is you need to understand what your financial goals for the year are and list those out somewhere. Again, I have details about how to do this along with a template in my financial plan video. Once you have your financial goals and your spending goals for the year, you also want to understand what your basic monthly expenses are, and that figure would help you understand what your margin is. Again, more detail in my financial plan video, but your core expenses, your food, transport, living expenses, so utilities, rent, your phone bill, light, trash, electricity bill, all that, along with any other contractual payments that you have to make every month. For example, your loan payment, right? Every other thing beyond that, they're all discretionary expenses. So your subscriptions, your shopping, giving, all those are discretionary expenses. That means that they're variable and they can change from month to month. But you want to understand what your core expenses are, and you want to take that number out of your income. Whatever is left is your margin, and this margin is what you essentially have left to hit every other goal that you've set in the year, including your savings goal. And this margin is very, very important because the bigger your margin, the more you can save. The smaller your margin, the less you can save. So that step is so important. Now, when you have your savings goal, if you're setting a goal, of course, the goal should be SMART, so specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. Your savings goal should have a number and should also have a time. I want to travel to Japan. How much is it going to cost me, and when do I want to spend the money? I want to get married this year. How much is it going to cost me, and when do I want to spend the money this year? Like, you need to know at least those two details about every goal. Once you have your goal and you have your margin, you know how much you have every month that you can put towards your goal. The next step is to determine what your savings percentage is going to look like. So what percentage of your margin are you going to save? Or if you like, what percentage of your income are you going to save? I personally like to do a percentage of my income because most times that number is larger. And again, the larger your savings, the faster you can hit every of your financial goals. So set a number. 20 to 30% is the typical range that many people recommend. Like, most people tell you to save 20% of your income, and based on your standard of living, based on your income level, you may have room to expand that savings. For example, in 2025, one of my own personal financial goals is to save about 45% of my monthly income. And I just want to encourage you, no matter what your income is, no matter what your margin is, no matter where you're starting from, push yourself to save something, right? Start with, even if it's 10%, even if it's 5%, start with something and then push yourself to increase your saving percentage on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis. So let's say you start with saving 10% this month. Next month, you can push yourself to save 11%, and the next month you can push yourself to save 12%. Whatever escalation factor is comfortable for you until you get to your target savings rate. And saving, is also a goal, something you can push yourself towards and really work on. Now, how do you manage multiple savings goals? Again, you've already listed out your goals. One of your goals should definitely be an emergency fund. If you don't already have that, or you have it but it's not large enough, that should be your one very, very important goal. So let's assume that you have that goal and a bit an emergency fund. You have a travel goal as well. You want to travel every quarter. Let's say you have a major life event. It could be anything: car, house, marriage, kids. Maybe you're currently expecting a child, and you know that having kids definitely increases your standard of living, and you want to begin to prepare ahead of that. It could be anything, right? Prepare for a financial exam, move across states. It could be giving, if you're someone that likes to give, like you have a lot of friends and you like to show up for your friends, travel to visit them, give them gifts. That could be a worthy goal that you could set. Now, once you have all this your savings goal, assign your savings number to your savings goal. So let's say you decided to save 20% of your income every month, and 20% of your income every month happens to be $2,000, and you have 5 savings goal. You then need to allocate how much every month goes into each of that goal. You can decide to allocate this money equally, or you can allocate it based on some form of prioritization. So of the 5 goals that you have, which of those goals is the most important? If the most important goal is emergency funds, you could say, okay, I'm going to put $1,000, 50% of my savings into my emergency fund, and then the remaining I'm going to allocate it equally, into those other goals. Or maybe your goals are time bound. So you have a travel goal coming up in Q1, and because of that you need to escalate savings into that. Again, it could be like $1,000 in my emergency fund, $700 into my travel fund, and then the rest you split it across $300. Whatever the gymnastics you want to engage here is totally up to you. The strategy applies, remains the same. Allocate your savings number across your savings goal. Once you've allocated this, the next step is to put your savings away from your main checking account, your main salary account, just to create that discipline so that you are not seeing it every day and you're not tempted to touch it. My recommendation is to always put your savings in a high yield savings account, and there are many. There's Marcus by Goldman Sachs, there's Ali, there's SoFi, there's Betterment, there's Wealthfront. There's so many options out there that you can put your money in. Now, some high yield savings accounts already have this bucket system in them. For example, Ali has this already in it. When you create it, you can create different buckets, and within the app you can transfer money from one bucket to another bucket and manage your money this way. I think SoFi also has this. I think Betterment also has this. Let's say you already have a high yield savings account. For example, I already had a high yield savings account before I implemented this strategy, and I did not want to open a new one. What you can just do is create multiple high yield savings accounts from the same provider. Have a savings account or bucket for your emergency fund, another savings account or budget for your travel fund, another one for your major life expenses, and name each account in that way. This is so powerful, so powerful, because for me, when I immediately did this, I could already feel myself being financially responsible. Like, I could see the motivation already. Like, I'm looking at my travel fund and I'm seeing $500, and I'm like, no, that's not aligning with the life I want to live this year, right? That's already motivating me to put more money in. I'm looking at my emergency fund and I'm like, this is looking light, that's already motivating me to put more money in. So this is the recommended bit. Create multiple accounts or have different buckets and title them with the goal, so that every time you open it, you get that instant motivation that's telling you need more money here, you need to cut down on Starbucks. There's this saying by James Clear that says you don't rise up to the level of your goals, you fall down to the level of your system. So everything we've spoken about today has been in the realm of goals. Now we want to make it into a system, and the key system here is automation. You want to automate money every month coming from your checking account into each of these savings buckets. Whatever figure that I've determined, I have it automatically every month coming out of my checkings account, going into my emergency fund, going into my travel fund, going into my major life expense fund. So this way, it takes the thought out of it. It also removes, your emotions from it. It removes lack of motivation, from it. Every month, once they pay you, that money goes, right? And if you have the opportunity as well, I know some employers give you the flexibility to break up your paycheck and send money into different accounts. If you have that, that's the best. Just do that. Automate it. Spend time, take one weekend and spend the time to set up those automations, and you will be better off for it. Depending on how many savings goals that you have, at the end of the day, right, your income is limited to whatever your income is right now until you increase it. Do not feel bad if you cannot fund all your savings goals every month. This is where prioritization comes in. You need to be able to prioritize your goals and say, this is the most important goal and this is the one that I'm going to fund every single month. And maybe the other ones you fund them every other month or once a quarter. Whatever strategy, whether you're funding every month, every week, every other month, once a quarter that you decide to engage in, I promise you that seeing the progress in your account is so cool and so motivating, and it's going to help you to not run into credit card debt. It's going to help you feel organized. It's going to give you peace of mind because you already know I have this money in emergency funds. I have this money for travel. It's going to really, help you with just maintaining a tidy personal finance life in general. If this video was very helpful, as you can see, I referenced a lot about building a financial plan. Financial plan is so key, right? And a financial plan goes beyond just savings. It's all about how can you set yourself up to achieve all your goals, including your financial goals in this year. So if that sounds interesting to you, I think you should watch my video about how to build a financial plan in 2025. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. But until then, stay rich and build wealth. Bye.